Hey everybody, it's Comic Crack, and today's video is going to be quite a hodgepodge mix-match cluster of a video. So what happened over the past couple of days, so I think it was 2 days ago now, I started to do a video. It was about many different topics. I had problems with the battery, the camera died. So then 2 days later, here I am sitting here and kind of trying to pick up the pieces. Plus there was some new things that I ended up talking about. So what I'm going to do is, I don't know if they'll all come out today or anything, over the next couple of days. There's going to be sections of videos coming out that I'll make reference to something I had actually really talked about before, or I'll just be jumping into something. It's not going to be in order, so I don't think that there's anything that needs to be in order as long as I treat these as their own little segment. This is just more of an introduction to alleviate any what the fuck's going on? What's this guy talking about? Did I miss something? You didn't miss anything. I just have a whole lot of footage to edit, and honestly, I don't really want to edit into one video because it'll end up being probably an hour and a half. So I think this might get service better as little chunks. So things that are going to be talked about, graphic novel club, or just graphic novels that are on my list of things to read. And then talking about having conversations with people and extending an invitation to anybody who's interested in these books that I show off, or has read any of these books that I've talked about, that I will talk about. There's some talk of new comics that I've read. There's going to be some talk about things that I picked up recently. There's also going to be talk about some Criterion movies that I got for my birthday, which was in April, and I'm just kind of getting around to starting to watch some of them, and just wanted to show them off because I'm always excited about Criterion, and I know there's at least one guy, Scott Cossum Bromstar, who is on board with that as well, and there's an extra special one for you. You already have it, but I now have the fucking movies. I now have them. So I'm pretty excited about all that, and I always want to promote things I'm excited about. I always want to talk about things I'm excited about. So maybe I'll do the movie one as its own thing, because I do kind of get a little nerdy about it as far as talking about some of the special features. So yeah, here it is in some fragmented pieces. Enjoy, and please keep in touch. I miss you. So here it is, days later from when I did that video. My battery died, so the camera shut off. I don't do videos enough anymore that I have it all set up ready to go, as if I've ever had success. So I haven't reviewed where I was, but I'm just going to kind of pick it up from where I think I was, and then go from there. But before I do, I was out today, and I just picked up a couple of things. So just wanted to show them because I'm kind of excited about them. I picked up an X book that's a Secret Wars tie-in. E is for Extinction, #1, because it's Burnham doing the writing, and a guy named what's his first name? Ramon Villalobos, butchering names, T-Full are butchering names. So there it is. I'm not an X-Men fan at all. Never really read X books. I never even liked the cartoon that much when it came out. I'm sorry. I just didn't. It would just always seem to me a little bit too much teen angsty for my taste, as far as like, here's some, subtext of like these teenagers going through these weird changes in their body and coming to terms with it, and nobody understands us, and everybody's out to get us, and that always reeked to me a little too heavily of like teen angst. But I'm curious to check this out. I'm also amazed. I've probably run into this artist before, but not that I can remember. I mean, it's a real mix of a few people's style, but it's very similar to Burnham's art. And you know, let's see how Chris Burnham can write. Let's try it out. The other one that I'm excited for is I finally found it. It looks like it might have come out last week. I'm not sure. The shops that I went to last week, I couldn't find it, but it also might have been buried. Weird World #1 by Jason Aaron and Mike Del Mundo. And those two names are the reason I wanted to try it. Like I was saying before, normally when it comes to the events of Marvel, Mr. Tom and I don't delve too far away from getting into these offshoots and things like that. We'll try out one or two, but we just usually stick with the main title. But with this whole Secret Wars, there's a couple of things that are happening that I'm sort of interested in, the Thors and things like that. But this one especially, and like I said, it's because of the writer and artist. I mean, Del Mundo does my Elektra comic, and I absolutely love his art. I love his color palette. Yeah, he's also responsible for colors. So colors is Mike Del Mundo and Marco D'Alfonso, and I believe it's the same too for Elektra. But as soon as we saw a little preview of this, I was sold. And I mean, Jason Aaron writing, I dig the little bit of stuff of his that I've read so far. So I'm pretty excited about it. But it's visually, to be honest, it's visually what really draws me to it. So I'm excited to read this one with my son as well. And then on my Tumblr, I have a bunch of people that I follow on Tumblr, and I came across some incredible art yesterday. Pencil drawings, as well as ink, as well as colored, as well as some samples from this. This is from Heavy Metal, July 1979. So I found this, the bookshop that I went to, actually, when I went up to pay for this, it was $3 anyway. It was they're having a 25% off sale, all the heavy metal magazines and all those kind of magazines. And they're also having a sale on graphic novels at this shop too. It's a shop that I don't go to as much, which I don't know why. It's fairly close. Their new issues, they're always fully stocked. The women that run the place are really, really nice. I always like hanging out with them and talking to them and stuff. And they've got a lot of good stuff in there. I think it's because it's right downtown, and right downtown isn't always the easiest to navigate as far as like dealing with parking and things. It's actually one of those shops. It's called Book Fair, and it's one of those shops that's been around since I was a kid as well, although it was quite a bit different back then. But it was one of the comic book shops that I went to. I don't know if I would have discovered that one first or Comic World first. It probably would have been Comic World first, but Book Fair was right up there too, and they used to have a much bigger space. There was an upstairs and a downstairs, and the entire downstairs was comics. Now it's just one floor, and it's mixed with magazines, books, kids' books, comics, that sort of thing. So, but they have a good selection. So anyway, back to this. Now just let me find the pages. Like I said, I hadn't heard about this artist before. It's a story that's written by Neil Adams, and the art is by a guy named Michael Hinge, and it's called Rears Its Ugly Green Head, and I'll just show you a couple of the pages here. The detail and the coloring is what drew me into it, and especially on the Tumblr where I saw some of the original pencils and inks and stuff where there was no color added to it. It's amazing. And then some of his other work was just amazing looking stuff. Really psychedelic looking, but I love the look of it, and I love the color palette to it, and I love the, you know, the acidness of the entire thing, the psychedelic experience of the whole thing. And then of course, there's always the bonus with heavy metal is there's tons of other great artists in here. There's a Mobius strip in here. There's a Corbin strip as well, and a couple other people whose names I'm not as familiar with. But as usual with old heavy metal, you can't really go wrong, especially when you're paying under $3. It was one of those things. There's a convention coming up this weekend. If you watch Comic Guy Rules channel, Garrett's channel, he mentioned it because he went to the one this past weekend. We're hoping to meet up at this one this weekend. It's kind of the it's the smaller group of people, like the thrift shop people, who put this one on, and maybe I'll get into that story another time. Anyway, I was thinking of looking for some heavy metal there, but once I saw it here for $3 and then 25% off that, there's really no point in looking any further. That's pretty cheap for an old heavy metal magazine. So that's that. So I think I left off talking about surface tension was the one I was going to talk about next. The guy's name is Jay Gunn. He wrote it and did art. He's been a video game designer for whatever it said on the internet, 20 years or something like that. You know, he's been around for a long time designing video games. This is his first comic series that he's done. And it's from the Titan Comics company, and this is the cover B. I don't know if I've ever noticed Titan Comics before, or it's just not been on my radar, but the name doesn't sound familiar to me, so that whole company is new to me as well with this issue, which is also kind of exciting. I want to look in to see what else they have. Overall, I kind of liked this issue. There was enough kind of explanation and enough mystery in it that keeps me wanting to come back. The art style I actually love, and it's not something that I would normally be attracted to. It's very odd. You can see by some of the facial, this one there, this picture of him is a little wonky, so it's not always consistent throughout, but that actually doesn't bother me. I really like the look of it. I like the smoothness of it. I assume it's computer, all done on the computer. It has that kind of look to it, but I do love the colors too. Let me get to another passage here. There was one specifically, I think. Well, some of this underwater stuff is pretty nice too. I'll show you this on this side. I like the colors in there as well. So just flipping through it was great. That's what kind of led me wanting to get it. So the basic story is it's not quite post-apocalyptic. What happens is there's some, we don't know fully yet. On the very first page, there's two people, a man and a woman, that come out of the sea. And it talks about nobody ever comes back. Nobody has ever come back. So what happened was there was a time when all of a sudden, as this sickness overtook most of the population, that drove them to wander into the sea, and they were never seen from again. In their place were a bunch of creatures that started coming out of the sea, new creatures. There was a small group of people on this island that seemed to be immune to any of the effects of this disease, so they still exist. These two people that have come back are the first two people that have come back. One of them has a previous friendship with the character we get introduced to in this issue. So that's kind of where it sets you up. How did they come back? Why did they come back? They don't have a lot of their memories intact. They don't have a lot of memories of their life. Seeing these two women that get reunited kind of trigger these memories in one of them, so she kind of starts to understand and remember some of her past as far as how she got to a certain point. She still doesn't remember her time in the sea or how she got back, but she's starting to get fragmented memories back. The other thing that impressed me with this, and then reading about it, there's images like this statue there. And I don't want to show you the last page. There's some images near the end too that really reminded me of Hayao Miyazaki, the guy that did Spirited Away, Princess Mononoke, all those Howl's Moving Castle, etc., 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 Totoro. That's another reason that I wanted to pick this up, because there was a lot of similarity in design and look of some of the things in this book. And I'm a huge fan of Miyazaki films. I love his animated movies. The ones that I've seen, I haven't seen them all. I absolutely love them. I hold them really dear. And then reading a little bit about him, he says flat out that Miyazaki was a huge influence on him just in his life in general. And it really comes across in here. So that kind of excites me too, because if he likes that kind of world, there's all sorts of possibilities with this book down the line as far as what it's going to encompass, what some of the creatures are maybe going to look like, if there is any, or what that world is going to be, whether it's a creature world, whether it's spiritual world, or whatever it will be. It really excites me to see some of that as well. So it was a nice surprise. It was nice to pick something up that I'm not familiar with and really enjoy it. It's definitely one that I'm going to give another couple issues to a chance. Yeah. So that Surface Tension, if you see it, I don't hesitate in recommending it. It's worth a shot for sure. And like I said, that company Titan, it'll be something that I look into further down the line to see what else they've done or what their story is. Because as I said, it's a name that doesn't ring a bell. If I see some of the titles they put out, it might look familiar, but off the top, it doesn't ring a bell. So that's that. Hopefully this all ties in together. It's going to be a bit of a sloppy edit job here, but thanks very much. There's your look at comics, and I'll be back, especially, like I said, after this weekend. I'll be back. I think there was something else I wanted to talk about. Oh, I remember what it was. I'll be back. I haven't set that up yet. I hear Mrs. Weens is upstairs, but she'll be good for another minute or two. She hasn't freaked out yet. The last thing I wanted to briefly touch on was a kind of to read. Now that I have some time off, I realized, so I watched a GNC Graphic Novel Club, I guess is what it stands for, with Matt Wednesday Serial and Damien Sleepy Reader. Really enjoyed it. They talked about a book I didn't know about, and just the whole conversation was very interesting. They're both very smart guys as far as when it comes to talking about this hobby. Their knowledge is pretty vast. Can be a little intimidating at times, but overall, like, there's always something new to learn. And what I also love is the kind of variety of taste. I'm a little more familiar with Damien, with his videos, because his, as I've said in the past, his are some of the videos I first discovered coming to YouTube, and I kind of binge watched a lot of his and a lot of Ghost Critics as well, so they were kind of my first introduction to the whole array of people that exist on this, in this community. And that's what I really appreciate as well, because I feel like, you know, yes, my tastes definitely lean towards a little more arty or weird or underground style for sure, but I do feel like I flirt with the mainstream quite a bit too, and have some appreciation of some more things that would be considered mainstream. So this is all leading in a roundabout way to when we moved into this house. I watched the video, and it reminded me of some graphic novels that I had buried away that I haven't read yet, and wanting to talk about them with people when I do read them, because I feel like it's been so long since I've been away. I'd like to dive right back in and have some conversations with people about some of these books, especially now that I'm reading some more new books and things. When we moved, a bunch of books got packed away, some that never saw the light of day again and just kind of sat in a box, so that video helped me rediscover them. So I've kind of put together, it's a very small pile, admittedly, but it is a pile of stuff that I really want to read. We'll start with this one. I think I talked about it in a previous video when I got it. It's Nixon's Pals. In their video, Butcher Baker, is that what it's called? Butcher Baker? It was another Joe Casey book, and then Damien held this one up as one that he just was starting to read recently as well. And hey, I got it on my shelf. I haven't even read that yet, so I sat down almost immediately and read through it. It's pretty entertaining. I do like it. I'd like to talk about it with him at some point, and we're planning to do that at some point. Maybe this week, maybe this weekend. It might be something that's a little later once all kids on both sides have gone to bed. But stay tuned for that. A couple of things to say about that book. Another one that has been sitting on my shelf for a little while now is this Transformers vs. G.I. Joe Volume 1. It deserves to be read. as many times as I've just flipped through it and just been wowed by the art, I really should just sit down and read the fucking thing from cover to cover. So this has issue 0 and then 1 to 5, I believe, if I'm not wrong about that. Anyway, and then some extra bits at the end. But it's one of those that it's visually so amazing to me that I worry slightly that it's gonna be a tough read, because I'm not a huge Transformers guy. I'm not a huge G.I. Joe guy. It's purely because of the look and the art of this book why I picked up the single issues and why I picked this up. So that's one. And then these ones, again, I've had for a little while. They were on sale at a time last year sometime. Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale, Catwoman When in Rome, hardcover. Just a small volume. It was a 6-part mini-series, so it's all collected in here. I really like the creators themselves. I love the look of the art, so it was cheap enough. I figured I should give it a try, so that's on the to-read list. And then a couple from, there's one of the shops downtown that he's got a lot of Will Eisner stuff. Graphic novels, or he did anyway. And over time I bought 1 or 2, like A Contract with God, and then these 2 here. So these are ones that I'd love to get into. This is Will Eisner, Invisible People. And it says, Master Storyteller Will Eisner presents a haunting trio of stories about life's forgotten shut-ins. So it's more of his kind of real life stories from when he was growing up and his neighborhood. So Invisible People tells the story of 3 ordinary individuals adrift in the city. The characters who inhabit these tales each value their privacy. Their lives are lived alone without engaging with the outside world, and yet each reaches a turning point when the individual experience goes from the anonymous to the universal, embodying some of the great themes of human existence: love, loss, loneliness, and even the power of religion. I really like Will Eisner stuff. I'm not as well versed in a lot of this side of Eisner, but it's part of him I'd love to read a lot more of. It's just really interesting. The Contract with God was a great book. This one looks equally exciting. I like the idea of kind of these inner city people, these just people who live in the city that go unnoticed, and his take on that sort of thing is always very unique. And then the other one is A Life Force. So Will Eisner's A Life Force. In this one, Will Eisner examines the lives and dreams, hopes and fears of characters enduring and surviving the Depression of the 1930s. Then the rise of Hitler's Germany casts its long shadow on these residents of a Bronx tenement. Will Eisner has worked in the comics medium for over 50 years. His previous published novels and stories include A Contract with God and The Dreamer, both of which explore life in pre-World War II America. And again, some of these were on sale. Like this one was on sale because it's a bit bashed up on the corner. It doesn't matter that much to me. The rest of it is in pretty fantastic shape. And even brand new, these things were only $14 and a quarter, $14.25 Canadian, so that's what, $10.95 US, so really cheap. So I'm pretty excited about reading these 2 as well. It's also 2 that I proposed to Damien about our little chat, because I thought maybe he'd... I only proposed Invisible People. I found this A Life Force later on, because I know he has a love for Will Eisner's The Spirit, and I'm curious if he's read much of this stuff too. So I'll probably end up contacting him about this other one that I found, and because I think he would be a great guy to talk to about this stuff with too. And anybody else, obviously, who's interested or who knows this Will Eisner stuff, or is a fan of Catwoman, or has read this Nixon's Pals, or any of these books, any of these graphic novels and hardcovers that I'm showing off, don't hesitate to get in touch with me, especially the Will Eisner stuff. I'd really like to sit with a group of people who know his stuff a lot more than I do, or even if they just have a kind of base interest in him. It would be great to have a little gathering of people reading some of these books and sharing our thoughts about that, because I think it's a real different style of graphic novel. You know, everybody credits Eisner with coining that term, with a contract with God, as far as being the kind of, he broke ground on this whole graphic novel as a format, as a viable form of storytelling. And plus the time period that they're usually set in, I think is fairly interesting too. So yeah, those are the books to read. And like I said, honestly, feel free to get in touch. I've gone out of my comfort zone and contacted 1 or 2 people about things. Please come out of your comfort zone. Let's chat about books. Let's chat about comics. I'd love to. I'm back for a bit. Obviously, my schedule is maybe not as flexible as some of you with because of the family and all, but I can always make some time, and especially when it comes to after bedtime, which here is around 8 p.m. for Miss Weens there. I'm kind of open all night to sitting and chatting about some of these things. And then of course there's the times during the day where she's napping, where I have kind of an hour or 2 of a window that we can always work out as well. So I think that's it. I'm gonna try to edit this whole mess together. It might end up not making sense because I might just put out segments and not necessarily in order. So let's hope that it all makes sense. Yeah, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay, thanks.